Okay, we are ready to rock and roll. Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay.
Hello.
So we are back. Welcome everybody to the Buffalo Chasers podcast. Elijah Hopkins de Miedo, and we have Mr. Tommy Christian is in the house once again. We're podcasting at number 83, I believe, on December 15th, 2022. We made it through finals week towards the back end of our semester here. So before we get started on our programming today, Nekshi, if you could share some good words with us, maybe share some we'll check you. That would be good if you could help us out.
All right. Aomitake pidaya hepi ushimala ksevicha shamiale. Ambe tukele michante etawa galake nahana pe chuza pelo. Wupira chicha pelo gnagupta emielo. Well, my relatives, again, we welcome you to our podcast. And of course, as we do these things, we try to do them as well as we understand them. And we kind of do these things in a good way with the best intentions of all to understand the importance of Wamakashka. That's all these things with the spirit. And we believe all the animals, all the plants, all the bugs, everything has the spirit. So that's totally inclusive of all living things. So with that, it's a time of year where we're kind of getting together for these family gatherings and in the best interest of our young people. They all believe in Wazia Richasha, Santa Claus, and that's the way they do things. So we're getting ready for that. And I might have a little visitor here this couple of weeks come and at least to make our home a little bit more cozy, getting Christmas ready for him. Other than that, I don't really practice that, but if we have kids in our home, we always make sure that they're taken care of. So let's all come together in a good way with the good thoughts and all this happy time going around. We got beautiful snow out there, lots of it, which is a good sign. And again, we want to thank you for coming here to our podcast of the Buffalo Chasers Society here. Tatanka Kuapi Okolakichie. I could say that now. So Ushimalo Mitakepi Omakea Wochekia. We're going to acknowledge our relatives, what I said. But in a good way, my grandfathers would come together on this day, that great mystery, and our Mother Earth, those four directions, and all those things that are up there, our grandpas and grandmas that helped us as we sat on the hill, searching for this direction and this guidance of our purpose as we walk this Mother Earth. We're going to ask you on this day to come and be amongst all those that maybe not feeling well today. We're going to ask you to come amongst us and think of all those that may be mourning a loss of a loved one. And again, as we do these things, we understand the importance of all of those that believe in this way as they walk this red road. We ask that they make good tracks on it, not for themselves, but for those that are following them, especially our young people, so that they can understand the importance of this natural law that we follow in a good way, with that attitude of inclusivity of all things, of all the things that have a spirit, as I was sharing with you earlier. And so as we do these things, my grandfather, we ask that you continue to help us understand the importance of the sacrifices that have been made in the past, especially by our warriors, those that have gone to war, the men and the women that put themselves in harm's way for the sake of this freedom that sometimes we take for granted, but at times like this, we definitely appreciate because of the goodness that it brings, the intent of that freedom of spirit, that freedom of speech, all these rights that should be deserved of those that understand the importance of a democracy. We're thankful, my grandfather, for all these things, and we pray and we ask that you'll watch over all those, the healers amongst us, the men and the women, as they pursue these protocols in a good way to help us continue to walk this red road. We're thankful, my grandfathers, for all that are out there, all the medicines that you provide for us, all the medicines we maintain, all the understanding that you have given us. And we ask in a good way that you'll continue to watch over all of these older ladies that we hold dear to our hearts, all these older men that we hold dear to our hearts, all the little babies, all the young boys, the young girls, the young men and the young ladies, that you give them a good road today. You afford them an opportunity to understand the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, making good decisions. So as we continue to walk in a good way, maintaining this dignity and honor, to understand the importance of sustaining this integrity of who we are as a people, we continue to share at times like this through this technology that is provided for us. So we welcome you all here at our Buffalo Chasers Society gathering. And again, we really appreciate your presence. So with that, we pray for all those that are associated with our Buffalo Chasers Society that support us here at the Fort Peck Community College. We keep in mind the board of directors and of course our president and all the good things that keep her strong, even Gorno and all that she does for the people here across our reservation. Oh, Mitakia Oasi. All my relations.
All right. Washte. Piramaya.
Oh,
Okay. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna talk about?
well,
What you
you know,
got for us?
I said my prayer in English and I try to keep it like that so they understand we're not just Indians, but we live another life too. And I was thinking maybe we could talk about that balance that we pursue, like, and some of the things that you're doing in pursuit of your educational process and how you're enhancing your life with all of this reading and writing and listening to our older folks and the language and how that's changing. Again, we go back to that ideological paradigm shift, eh? Oh, them two dimes, man, they're moving. But even from a personal experience, Toshka, that's what you're doing. And in that, you can see how it has affected not only your life, but the life of your children, the life of your wife, and all the rest of your relatives as you continue to attain this sense of balance, which we're wishing for everybody, eh? We wish for good things for everyone. And that's why, like, we're not in pursuit of this capitalistic perspective for the sake of this imperialized sort of attitude, kind of take over and take what we can, then leave. We don't live like that. We feel we come from our grandmother Earth, and so we always try to be understanding of how we need to help manage that whole perspective, that attitude, as common people. And I'm trying not to use the Indian language, so I just talk in English, because I do that sometimes. I get carried away. Because again, they need to understand the manner in which we talk in our language is a little even more deeper than how you can explain it in English, eh? And see, Toshka, that's what you're finding out. The history of sometimes one word, it just goes back long, long, long ago. And, like Nietzsche, my older brother, Earl Bullhead, he's down there in Fort Yates now, and he's all snowed in. He called me last night and gonna watch the game and the Warriors, and I forget who they played, but he was kind of being updated like that. But he was all hunkered down, had all this bologna and spam and beans. He had all this stuff ready, so they were prepared for it. But they're getting a lot more of this storm than we are. So, but he's doing good. But that's what he was trying to help us understand, not only through the language itself, but through song, eh? The manner in which he shared that. And you'll find through these songs long ago, if you listen to a song from long, long time ago, actually they could even be referred to as messages, eh? And kind of a secret sort of a message to another community. And they were singing about this. And if you didn't understand the language, you didn't know what they were singing about, but you knew the tune, eh? But if you knew the language, there was a message in that song that was being carried over. Hey, the Agichita, Mila Huska, they're right over there. They're living over there, but stuff like that, eh? And everybody thought they were just songs, but they weren't. They were actually, in some cases, not all, there was messages in those. Also, they talked about ceremony and maintaining the protocol of our ceremony, because that at one time was underground. And so if people don't understand that, they kind of take it just at its superficial value. But we had ways of doing these things, communicating with one another that kind of had to kind of cover up what it is, how we live, because until 1969 or 1972, when the Indian Religious Freedom Act came up, this was all against the law. They'd throw you in jail for a year and a day if they found that you were going to sweat lodge or conducting ceremony. That 1 year and 1 day they would throw you in automatically. Wouldn't even ask you questions. I don't even know if they afforded you a court or a hearing. They just if you did it, you went to jail for 1 year and 1 day, and then you got out. But that's that form of oppression that they put on us. So we'd have to maintain this culture in kind of different sort of ways, and song was one of them. And that's what the Nietzsche was trying to share with us, Chie. And through song, there's different ways of communicating, but now we're utilizing it as a tool to help us enhance and enrich the language, because a lot of people, they can sing, but they can't talk the language, but they know they're saying these words, and then they start learning through the singing how to speak the language, and just stuff like that, how we utilize it differently. But the point that I'm making, I guess, is that if you don't understand us as Indian people, then it just goes right over the top of your head. You miss it, But if you're right in the mix, you have an understanding or a different perspective on how we do things. We accept things, even like when you speak to Nietzsche, he's very deliberate in the manner in which he returns his discussion. He'll wait for a while because he's thinking about how he can say that, because he thinks in Dakota, or Lakota. And then so he's trying to think about how he can say that in English in the manner in which it was intended. Well, sometimes there's not words for your brother-in-law is here. Oh, here, no. I give you half of what I got. I had 10, so I give you 5. Oh man, look at this guy. I have to hook him up with some more here. My nephew brought.
Oh
we
man,
made a switch here with some medicine, Indian medicine. There he is, right there.
oh, bitak kapi.
Your taha.
Oh,
Okay.
snoozer guy, huh?
That's his brother-in-law. That's my nephew, I said. I'm trying to talk English, so, but like I was saying, stuff like that, they lose sight of the intent of our philosophical approach to life. And then the sad thing is, because they think we're not asserting ourselves, but what we're doing is we're trying to maintain. I speak about that dignity and honor, to maintain the integrity of who we are as a people. I had to learn myself how to do that, how to keep my mouth shut in a lot of cases, because I don't want to be disrespectful. And that's why I say I don't like arguing with Indians, because when they ask me why, I said, well, they're Indians. I don't argue amongst our own, And that's where we maintain that sense of remaining apolitical and apersonal. Then it doesn't overcome you to where your anger, your jealousy, your insecurities come out. But you could always maintain that agichita kind of real man sort of perspective, and you don't fall into that way of thought that when you're really aggressive, where you have to be in a contemporary world to kind of keep up with our non-Indian contemporaries, and we can, and we do, and we have, but yet just not the way they think we should, just because we find our family more important, our relatives more important, all that good stuff. They find it kind of apathetic, if you will, for lack of a better word. Hey, son. All right. Thank you, my boy. Oh, I got a check. I got a government check. Look, Government, from the
$3
government.
14 cents.
For 36 cents. Okay, Sancio. All these folks coming in during our podcast, but but you see what I'm saying, Toshka? But now the reason I'm sharing that with you and for our audience, see, Toshka, Elijah, that's what he's coming into. That's what he's approaching. And each and every day he comes in, when he gets a chance to come and talk to me, I can see it in his behavior. I can see it in his manner, that change that's coming about. And so from that, he's going to even enlighten that, because we're going to go take a buffalo here on December 21st. And we're going to really approach that as respectfully as we can. We're going to get some guidance from some elders and whatnot. We want to do it as well as we can. We're going to try to have Inipi and bless that gun and the bullets. And of course, my nephew here is going to take it out and all that good stuff. But we want to do it as well as we can, like Hihana, a long time ago, they used to do it like that. So we're going to try to stick to that, but at the same time, understand the importance of the conditions of the weather, utilizing some of this contemporary equipment to get us what we need to do. We're going to have the women try to take care of the intestines, the tashumpa, tatanka tashumpa, that's what we call it, the guts of the insides of the tongue, all that good stuff. But all these things, we're getting ready for that as well. But I can see that whole attitude of my nephew here changing as he's introducing himself, not only in a contemporary way through this educational process from that linear teaching that he's receiving by reading, writing, and whatnot, but he's also understanding the importance of that balance that he's achieving through that abstract learning process, that experiential teaching. And when he participates in this buffalo hunt, that's that spiritual aspect of really approaching this attitude of Wamakashka Oyasi. We're all related to all things, and that's the coolest thing. What do you think about that, Tushka? Watch that, lo? Yeah, watch that.
Oh man, how do I follow that? Yeah, no, that was really good, because we planned this buffalo hunt out for about a month or so, but even going back to the summer, we wanted to, but there was all these things that I can see how it's so hard for people that want to participate. They had to go through all these loopholes and different things just to be able to even have an opportunity to go on a buffalo hunt. And so but we want to definitely thank Fort Peck Community College and Fort Peck Tribes for supporting Fort Peck Community College in our pursuit for having a buffalo harvest. And so without their support, our students and our department, we wouldn't have this opportunity to share it with everybody. So we've had a number of staff that work at the college that are going to go and check it out and that are excited. There's a number of students that want to go and check it out. So we got this new culture truck. It's got some brand new treads on it. So nothing's going to stop us. We're going to go up there up north in this cultural herd. A lot of people don't know the history of our Buffalo Nation. That Fort Peck Tribes.
I'm listening.
Yeah. So not that Nex or Dekshi isn't aware of this, but there was this this cultural herd comes from Yellowstone Park, and there's a lot of I guess significance and meaning to that. And it's my understanding, at least, that Fort Peck Tribes kind of took the lead on getting these genetically pure buffalo from Yellowstone, and now Fort Peck is situated to where they're able to share, I guess, through an intertribal buffalo treaty council that goes into Canada and the United States. All these tribes, they're able to take part in this. And so when we and I've talked about this a little bit with Dekshi Tommy already, but how would you say that? I don't want to underwhelm our viewers and listeners with how cool of experience this is, because there's a lot of history to the buffalo here in Fort Peck, and even before that, you guys know, when we were talking about, there's even songs that are sung but leading up to it. We're going to try doing that and explaining it to the students and people that are there that have never seen something like that before. So really an awesome opportunity. But we have some people that we're going to be doing some videoing and some pictures, and hopefully be able to just kind of explain this. And then so that way next year, if we have the same cool opportunity, we have that. That was that Dekshi Jerome Killsmall told me this. He said we have this thing called latent memory as Indigenous people. Latent memory, meaning that sometimes if you go to like a sweat law or you go someplace later and you smell sweetgrass, it's because of the genetic tie that you have to your ancestors, right? So when I'm listening to like elders talk about the buffalo and yourself, we're gonna wake up who we really are, right? They're gonna go out that, even though they might be sitting in the truck, because it's gonna be -20 out Galbado, but that ain't gonna stop us. We're gonna go up there and they're gonna see, and that's kind of what I'm hoping. Like I'm personally interested, but I'm really excited for our students and people that have never had this opportunity to be able to watch and observe, and that latent memory that it's gonna wake up some of these their ancestral connection to this animal that's really, because we're the buffalo chasers, right? And so it's like we're enacting who we're supposed to be. Because remember, we talked about, this is flashback. We're talking spring 2020. Spring 2020. All of a sudden, COVID. Okay, buddy, plug it in. And we were only able to do virtual connections, right? And so we did this for a couple years, man. Together, couldn't get together, and we got Dekshi Earl was in the house for many sessions, and he kind of helped us. And then, so it feels really good that we're able to enact some of these things that we've always wanted to do. So
we should try to get Neil involved, him or Judy. But I was thinking Neil, because Neil kind of knows, maybe get a hold of him and see if he can archive the whole thing, because it might be a little bit too hard on Judy because of the weather and whatnot. But Neil, he can hang, man. He's been all over the world videoing shit.
Is he still in the hood? Is he still in the hood?
Yeah, he's still in the hood.
Okay, we'll have to send him a message, reach out to him. So
see if he wants to help us out like that. Now I'll get a hold of Dylan and see if we can have a sweat on that Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning go out. See if we can kind of have it early so we don't get too played out. But don't expect too much from me, Toshka, because I'm old. I'm limited. I could barely breathe, man. So
that's okay. That's okay.
I can't help you cut or carry or pack, or I can sit in the car and watch.
That's okay. That's okay.
But those things are really important to us, because again, we want to pay the highest regard and the reverence that is due to this animal. That if you understand the story of origin, at one time the buffalo was the one that helped that little enzyme. He fed it. It was just a little blood, that they saw. And there's a story like that. And the buffalo, that's why we claim them as brothers. The buffalo fed that little enzyme till it grew and grew and grew and grew. Pretty soon we became a man on this land that Inktomi created. A lot of people, they don't of course, there's so many diverse stories about origin, but we have our own, to where that sort of thing was going on. And then you talk about the stories of origin as it relates to that great race. In spite of the fact that the buffalo created the man got too carried away and started bossing things around and stuff. So they had that great race. And if the four-leggeds won, we wouldn't be here. So we have a lot of thanks to give to that magpie that sat on the hump of that buffalo. And when they just got to the finish line, he flew ahead and he won, because the birds were trying to protect us and keep us. But the buffalo wanted to do away with us because we were getting too arrogant and too some way boastful about who and what we are. But it's little stories like that have a lot of significance as it relates to the buffalo, And so we refer to ourselves as Tatanka Oyate, Te Oyate. That's who we are. That's how we look at ourselves, because we understand the importance of that relationship we have established with them. Because from that development, that creation based on our need, the buffalo said they will do anything to keep you alive. And so they give us everything that we needed, sacrificed of themselves so that we can continue to live. And in that whole process, that's the kind of attitude when you talk about that genetic memory, that latent memory or whatever, that's what that's going to bring out in our people, understanding the importance of being there and being respectful about that spirit of that buffalo and helping it to sustain us as individuals, but the representation of our families, our tribe, and our communities, and for the sake of going on and making good tracks on that red road. And again, that maintains that helps us to understand the self-respect, the self-esteem that it takes to be Dakota, Lakota, Nakona representatives, and all of those that are involved in the Tatanka, Kuapi, Okila Kichie, Okola Kichie. Yeah, there I got it right. But again, those are the things that they'll experience, eh? And again, they'll realize the importance of doing something like that with such spirituality involved. And that's why we want to do that. And that's why we're trying to understand the importance of the Fort Peck Tribe, the Fort Peck Community College, affording us to utilize this as an educational tool from that land-based perspective, eh? And that's the key to that abstract learning, is all this land-based associations with our students and connecting them with that. They start to begin to understand the ideology that we're trying to promote, and that's representative of something that a lot of the political agendas don't want us to do, is be critical thinkers. That's the premise, or that's the catalyst of that high self-esteem, high self-respect, eh, as a result of becoming Dakota, Lakota, and Nakona people in that way, good human beings. So that's totally inclusive of all the two-legged, eh? You think?
Oh, wash they do. The other thing, when we were talking earlier, it's important, I think, is we can visit it, but maybe a little bit more about. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I know you got lots to share on it, because I know I've heard you, but I know people would definitely like hearing it. When they sing those songs, when we talked about why they do that, and like and it's like and when people are there, it'd be good for them to hear that again when we're gathered, is the idea of sacrifice, right? Like the buffalo sacrificing itself. So that's important. And then when it's kind of like a lot of the things that we do as Indian people, right, is predicated around this idea of caring and generosity and hard work around harvesting a buffalo, going out in the elements, doing things that are difficult, working together
Collectively,
collectively, that in itself creates resiliency. And so this gives us exactly like what you were saying, it's the platform to provide an educational opportunity for them to experience it themselves without being tied into the dogma of going over here to this whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to use too fancy words here, but like,
no, that's true.
It's important that they're tied. That when we talk about this Okora Gichie or Kona Gichie, you're part of it just by going and wherever you fit. And I think it's important that they feel that. And I know we already get it, and you definitely are sharing it by including them in this. But it's one thing for us to talk about, but when they get there, they'll learn that. That'll be valuable.
And see, that's what land-based teaching is all about. They understand that there's a purpose to their dedication in life, eh? And it's not just to be hard-headed and get ahead of everybody and be the only one. We don't think like that, eh? And again, it's that individuality that we take on, not against, but recognizing a lot of our people have taught the individualism, the I, me, my, eh? And that's not the way we're in our blood, in our thought, in our philosophy. We don't live like that. It's more individuality, us, we, and them, kind of keeping that in mind. That's why I said Wachekia, that's about acknowledging your relatives, eh? and letting them, and for your, it's a heartfelt cry for the sake of others. In other words, acknowledging your relatives. And it introduces that concept of mitakvia oasi. We're all related. And so when you are going in a spiritual way, when you speak in a spirit with that spiritual energy, you're doing it for the sake of others. So that's what wachekia is. You're acknowledging your relatives, and it doesn't exclude anybody. It doesn't mean just your blood relatives. It means based on that ideological perspective of, or that philosophical perspective of mitate or asi. We're all related, eh? And so you take that into consideration. And so any act that you do on this side of the I don't know, this side of heaven, I could call it. Well, I would say, but on this side of heaven, then that's representative of who you've developed into, in spite of this very fast-paced way of life where you've got to get aggressive and be competitive and all that good stuff. Well, we can always come down and slow down to help us understand the importance of that pursuit of balance, see, as a human being. And again, we recognize the difference between human beings and our animal world is that we can be rational and logical, where animals are just innocent in their behavior. They do it based on natural law, instinctive pursuit. But us, we start being rational and logical about our action, our behaviors, and of course, survival is of the utmost importance for us. And so sometimes we have to lie, cheat, and be deceitful as human beings. And another difference that I always try to share with our people to help them understand the difference between the animal world and the human world is humans can kill from a distance, just to keep it in perspective, to help them understand that we could totally dominate this world if we wanted to. And in some cases they have. They've overkilled a lot of things that went extinct and they didn't have to. The buffalo were almost there, but they're making a resurgence now. And that's the attitude we want to take into this taking of this life. And that's why we want to do it so respectfully, utilizing everything that we possibly can, even the marrow and all that good stuff. I noticed that the college is going to have classes on how to dry meat, how to make marrow soup or whatever, wasna, whatever the case may be, utilizing other things to develop that high protein diet that we had at one time, and the effects that it has on you. And again, it gets your blood flowing good, get your mind back to regular, all that good stuff. Because at one time, our Indian people used to live to hundreds of years old, and people can't understand that. It was because of our diet, because of what we ate in that natural process. But again, this is something that we'd like to instill in people. We're not telling people anything, but we're just asking them to come and participate so they could feel that spiritual aspect kind of overcome them, to just be present. Their mere presence would be so beneficial, not to us, but to them. And then they could take that good, positive thing and share it with other people, especially their families, and let them know that we don't have to be grouchy and mean. We could enjoy each other's differences and diversities and all that good stuff. That's what Dakota and Lakota and Nakona, that's the definition of who we are. I'm your ally, I'm your friend, I'll help you in times of need. And that's what we try to represent in a consistent way. And we're coming back to that. We're starting to develop, and a lot of the insecurities are shown by your anger, your jealousy, your all that good stuff that gets you mad. That's insecurities. But when you're secure and comfortable with who and what you are, when you quit looking this way and blaming people and start looking inwardly and accepting your responsibility of being a good human being, then I think that all those insecurities and all that anger, all that frustration leaves you, and you just learn how to have a higher regard for this spiritual energy that's up there, that they're not going to take you down the wrong road. They'll help you understand the importance of your purpose and dedication, again, to represent not only yourself, but your family, your tribe, and your community, wherever you come from. And that's all we're trying to instill in people, is give them that understanding, give them that secure way to think, to help them realize that, hey, I'm a part of this solution, not necessarily part of the problem, but I'm part of the solution just because of who I am and what I am, not on my words, but on my actions, eh? And this act of taking this buffalo is going to be done in a good way. Not saying anybody other's way is wrong. They could take it however they want to, but we're just trying to do it like they did a long time ago. So just a few thoughts about that. I think it's going to be a beautiful experience, and I hope it is cold, because we have lots to suffer for, but yet at the end we're going to realize a lot of benefits from that as well, eh?
Yeah. And then there's a couple other events too. One is this language conference you're going to be going to next month, Gail Badul. Well, do you want to talk about that? What's that all about?
Yeah, no, in Brandon, Manitoba, we're going up there. They have a Dakota Winterfest up there, eh, where they have hockey and powwow and basketball and jigging and all this. They have that Dakota Festival. They haven't been able to have it for a couple of years because of COVID, where they're going to restart it. But on that's going to be on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. But before that, they also, in conjunction with that, they want to have a language conference, and they want me to facilitate it, because I facilitated that one in Whitecap up there in Wapahaska, Dakota Nation, and they want me to facilitate this one and really help them understand some of the concerns or some of the issues from somebody that speaks but never had that as the first language. My first language was English, but I learned myself how to speak my language. And in that, I'm going to go up there and present them with a few thoughts on what we could be thinking about. Now, the contamination of what it is our true intent was way back in the day. Prime example, when did "wo" get incorporated into our language? Where did how much contamination is there as it relates to the Christians defining what it is that we said? And it's so evident. My buddy Albert Whitehat, everybody thought he was wrong because he was going against the grain of a more contemporary educational process and the pedagogy, the epistemology, and how you're supposed to teach language. Well, he just went back to the grassroots. Well, that created a whole lot of controversy, from a lot of people. But all he was doing was taking that natural law process, putting into play, and making it practical for the way we thought, the way we lived, the way we utilized the language. For instance, he always try to help me understand. He said, down here in the South, when you refer to like an old man as a wichakchala, they laugh at you. He said, because they use that word, as respectful as it is, they use that word as husband, my old man. Winukshala, they laugh at you because, again, they use that word as wife, my old lady. And that's totally not what it's intended for. Wichakshala and Winukshala is in reference to the ones that carry that wisdom that I hold dear to my heart. And again, that's some of the things that we need to discuss and talk about, and how we can deal with that and talk about those things, because it's affecting our young people in a manner in which it kind of confuses them, but at the same time, they're more ready and able to recognize the diversity that is represented out there. The stories of origin is a prime example. The Dakota, our story of origin, is different than the Lakota, and the Lakota is different from the Nakona. Of course, the Shahia have theirs, Shahiala, they have theirs, but that diversity is there because, again, that common mindset coming from a spiritual perspective helps us understand how we've included everything and all things, in respects to our stories of origin, and everything has a purpose, everything has a responsibility, and they're starting to understand the importance of coming together as human beings and kind of making sense of this confusion that has been created out there by human beings for the sake of I, me, my. And again, that's sad, but again, it's usually self-serving, and they become deceitful and cheaters and liars and not very good people, but yet they get what they want. And if that's what they want to do, that's what I call this attitude of more capitalistic imperialism, because that's not the way we are. But there's so many ways this ideology that we're trying to address, that paradigm shift that we're trying to accomplish, is something that a lot of people try to talk through or Hollywoodize it in respects to what they think Indians are. They have no idea, no understanding of who we are. And we've accepted that, we tolerated that, but yet the diversity is there based on that representation of all different tribes. But then the uniqueness is represented as well, based on the language we speak, the ceremonies that we follow, the protocol that we address when we do these things. That's uniqueness of any given area, And that's why our stories of origin are different, but yet accomplish one of the same things. We humble ourselves to this this big spiritual energy, and some people call it the great mystery, but I call it this big spiritual energy, because again, that's what we return to. We come from there and we go back to there, and it's an energy that people are starting to understand it's true. The scientists are coming back to a more original style of thought. They're starting to investigate and find out that the natural people, the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and all indigenous people, they weren't too far off the mark. And now they went out on their own, they created all this out and tried to compare it to it, and it's not fair. They can't leave us behind. They have to bring us along as well. And in that, and we can keep up. It's just that we're not going at the same pace they want to go, because we don't see the importance of that. Because as we prepare ourselves to go be in this next place with our relatives, there's no essence of time. Time is not of the essence, they say, in that place. And so you'll find that all these things in that preparation, when you open your mind, you expand your horizons, and your worldview becomes just that. It sometimes that worldview will become universal, and what they call it, starlight, because we believe that we have no limits. And again, that whole attitude of that thought process that comes into play based on the words that we use. A lot of people don't understand. The indigenous people, we were here from the beginning of time. Guess what we went through? Dinosaurs, ice age. If we were here from the beginning of time, we were here. But you know the difference? We weren't on top of the world. They call it Richasha Agratron. Richasha Agratron. They were underneath, and there were, we were inside the Mother Earth, and people can't accept that, because again, philosophically, that's where we were. And there's words for that. I don't know if you ever look up that word, my boy. Richasha Agratron. See if you can find that somewhere. And then there's things that, because we come out of that wind cave when we're living under, we come out of the wind cave, and then now we can't go back because of our size and whatever. That Wiwila I was talking to you about earlier, that's what I was thinking about this morning. And we call that Richasha Agatushni. It's in reference to the spirits, the spiritual people that are here amongst us on this earth. And in that whole process, that what I'm talking about is a different way to look at things, different way to see things instead of explaining them. Remember I said the difference between animals and humans is the rationale and the logic. Well, sometimes we went beyond that understanding just to make it acceptable to human thought, not realizing that, hey, there's a whole new world out there if you just understand the importance of these stories of origin, the philosophical approach, and this common mindset that we had because we believe we're indigenous to this land. How did we survive at times during the dinosaurs? Because we got words for them. We got words for dinosaur. We got words for volcanoes. We got words for all that prehistoric stuff. And how did we live through it? Well, we didn't live on top. We lived inside the Mother Earth. Another just philosophical approach to and thinking how we continue to maintain our livelihood, if you will, in respects to who and what we were in the beginning of time. And some of the first sounds that we ever heard as human beings was the pouring of water on hot rocks. That sound, that making that steam, that's the first sound that there ever was. And people can't understand that because the lava would hit the water and create land. When it hit the water, look at the sound it made, eh? And you're creating land. But it's just, again, to some, that's so far-fetched and it's beyond their thought process. But that's what I mean when I say, when you open your mind and you expand your horizons, when you expand the abilities of you to really accept some of these things that you thought were myths or legends, they're true. And then now the scientists are coming back and starting to investigate all of these stories and their origins of where they come from, how they came about. And they're starting to recognize, hey, how did you guys know that the Black Hills was shaped like a buffalo? How did you guys know that Peshla was like a heart? How did you guys know when you didn't have satellites, eh? Hey, it's again, they're starting to acknowledge some of the ways that we live as First Nations people, and those stories that were shared with me throughout my lifetime. In my next birthday, I'll be Wania tu Winkchemana Ma Shakoi. Okay, so I lived a lot of years like this and listened to a lot of stories, and me myself trying to accept that in a natural way. And now I have, eh? And now I'm trying to convey that thoughtful process with others so it doesn't feel so crazy or so far out there, but more based on the naturalness of our life and how it has evolved into who and what we are today. And in that process, it's amazing some of the stories that you hear out there, true stories, not bullshit stories from these guys that try to Hollywoodize all our Indian stuff and all that, eh? But true stories from a long time ago about how these old people and those stories that were passed on down the lines. I feel kind of privileged because I had an opportunity to be amongst those older folks that shared those stories, eh? That's why when I speak my language, I say, Winukshala na wichakshala, won spekia hemikawa. Okay, so my teachers are the older ladies and the older men that I held dear to my heart. That's what I'm trying to say in my language. And because I felt so privileged to be amongst them and to have heard those stories firsthand from the authors in many cases of these things that they're now writing about. I listen to the authors tell it. and I don't want to sound like I'm privileged. I feel privileged because I was there. But now I feel that the reason I was there and they let me understand that is because it's up to me to convey that at times like this. Is that cool or what? And an old man told me this 40 years ago. It had to be 40 years ago. Told me I was going to do what I'm doing today. As far-fetched as that sounds, that's what he said. He said, you're the conveyor because our young people are afraid of us, the older ones that they looked at as witch doctors and voodoo of Indian medicine and stuff like that. He said, you're going to be the conveyor of our message to them so that they can receive it and accept it. And I said, hey. And so I just waited and waited here. All of a sudden it's coming about. Oh, man, that's the beauty of some of the direction and guidance that I received. And I haven't drank in over 40 years. I haven't done drugs in 40 years. And now I have a basic understanding as to why. I had to be clear-minded and control of all my faculties all the time in the manner in which I represented the stories that I carried. Eh? Is that cool or what?
Oh, yeah, that's really, thank you for sharing. We have, we tried to go to about an hour, you know, and then we're getting close to the top of the hour. And I was thinking, I don't know when. We were trying to do every few weeks. Sometimes we try to bring on guests depending upon everybody's busy schedule. We have a few people lined up. We always try to get good feedback and all that good stuff. But I don't know. Hopefully in a couple weeks from today, we'll be able to revisit this. Maybe we can reflect on a buffalo hunt, talk about different things.
Yeah.
But when I was listening to another gentleman the other day talk about this time there, Wani Yetu, it's a time traditionally when we would tell stories because of cold weather and visit with family members. So like any students that happen to be listening to this, sometimes if you don't have that, and that's what our podcast is for, to try and so you can listen to individuals like Dekshi Tommy share.
Wani Yetu, you can see your breath. That's what that means.
And there's I know sometimes we talked about like protocols and storytelling and all that good stuff. I don't know all those stories, or some of them I've heard, but I think our students, those that are interested in this podcasting, this is kind of one of those opportunities to listen and I guess enjoy your families over the winter break. Those of you that aren't in classes anymore, we'll start up again next semester on the 17th of January is when classes start for spring semester. So register up. Registration's open. We have on the January 11th, we're going to have a student orientation for any prospective students, new students, parents, concerned family members, counselors. They're welcome to listen, observe. Usually from about 9 a.m. to about 12, we have a Zoom link available on the Fort Pitt Community College Facebook page. Under events, it says student orientation. If you click on that, you'll see a Zoom link. If you click that Zoom link, you can join the Zoom call, or you can just go over to the Greetedon Auditorium and you can be there in person. We'll have that virtual component. And or if you don't do the Zoom link, or if you're not over at the auditorium, you can follow us live on the Facebook feed. I think we'll try putting it live streaming it. So those are just a few things to look forward to coming up. But other than that, I don't really have anything else to share. Is there any parting comments you have, Dex?
Yeah. Just if you listen to how I prayed in English, I always prayed the same prayer, and that's what I'm saying in my Lakota language. I'm saying those words, but in Lakota. So, and I always prayed the same prayer. Yeah? Just to help them understand that. So what I said in English today is how I pray in my language, and it's always the same.
Have a good day, everyone. Doksta ke wachia kapiktedo. See everybody later.
Dokshaka.